Hey everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. This is RCB, aka Rocket Catchin' Bob, and today I just wanted to review with you my biggest play of the day, PRPO. Give you guys kind of a lowdown of what I look for and some patterns that we recognized and how we were able to bank so nicely today on this play. So here's kind of my list of things I'm looking for every single day to determine if I should actually take that trade and if it's like kind of, worth taking that shot, right? So is it a top gainer? As soon as this thing actually opens up today at 9:30, it pops from 180s all the way to 240s. So that's a huge move for it already. So of course, we're going to check this off that it is a top gainer. The next thing is, does it have news? If we look back down here, we actually do see news at 9:30. They launched its rapid COVID-19 antibody test on the Amazon platform. And if you read the next, you'll see it highlights successful launch of COVID-19 on Amazon.com's business platform. So, of course, anything to do with Amazon and it's a penny stock or a stock under, say, $5 is going to have massive volume or a massive move because of just the Amazon being in the same PR. So check that off. We do have news. Volume. So as soon as this opened, here's all the volume down here. Nice moves and 500,000 or more in multiple candles. So I do like that. It's over 1 million. Is it a low float? If we go back to finviz.com, I don't know if you guys use this site a lot, but you definitely should. You can go over to Finviz and just type in PRPO, and then it'll tell you how many shares float it has. And right now on Finviz, it says 17.03 million. So, of course, anything under 20 million is ideal. It can move very far, very fast. The bigger the float, the harder it is to move it. Up next, overall market conditions. If we look back at the SPY and what it was doing today, we can see that it was actually doing pretty well. It's up at the highs, 420s. If you look at the daily, you can still see it's very positive. There's no panicking. A lot of people still, playing this out. No fear in the market whatsoever, looks like. So, of course, it's doing pretty good. Another thing we should look at here is kind of support and resistance level. So let's check off the market conditions because we're good there. Support and resistance. If you look at this from this morning, we knew it was having some issues at 250s, and we needed to go over that nice threshold because it's a psychological number, 250, and it kind of crept up here once and then twice, and it just couldn't get over. It actually failed. It got turned back down and rejected. And in this area, we did add some on stream, but I didn't take it as far as I should have and had been as patient as I needed to be with it. I kind of just scalped it. Unfortunately, I should have just held, but there are some people who took it in the trade or in the chat room from 214s all the way up to what you'll see later is like 3s. But let's look more into the support and resistance of what we should be doing here. So we know the main resistance is at 250s. We can go back on let's go back to the weekly and kind of get a better idea of what we think might be the next resistance for it. Actually, let's go to the daily. If we look back here, we can see the last time it actually made a move to this area of anywhere near the 250s, $3 area, there was this gap, right? That actually fell down. It actually fills this gap. We know that we can kind of put our targets right here at the gap fill level because a lot of that is, you'll see a lot of psychological moves to a gap fill off the daily, but then it'll just kind of fade out after it fills that. So we put our first target there at 310s. And 250s was way back down here. So we also know 280s can be a nice resistance for it. Anywhere in this area is going to be pretty nice target from the 250 break area. If we think it can go further than that, we could look at maybe the 375 area from this daily. And then if you want to say massive target area, we'll just say $4 psychological resistance, just because it did get there at one point, but it wicked back down, and that's kind of the closest psych level to where it got to. So let's go back to this intraday and see kind of how it panned out. See if we could, if we actually predicted the future with just those little tools of using, support and resistance and we'll show you some patterns also here. So we check off that one. You see how we have 250 resistance right here? If we bust that, we want to see it hold as a support. We talk about it all the time, but this is just psychological stuff that happens throughout the day. The battle of the bears and the bulls kind of make this happen and come to fruition. So this thing actually does break 250s, comes up to 264, pops back down, and this is kind of where I like to buy. I like it when they break thresholds like this, and then they can come back down and sit on that threshold and hold it. I think these are one of the best. It actually makes a push from 250s all the way up to $3 almost here, which we know from looking at that daily that there's a lot of resistance from anywhere from 295 to 310s area because that gap fill, right? So I'm looking kind of like, here's what I would be scaling out into. This is what kind of my target area. And then also, if I was trying to get in, I'd be trying to get in as close as I could to that resistance / support and kind of ride this out. So another thing we see here is once this breaks this 250 resistance, there is some consolidation here, and it starts creating another support level at 260. So I will put kind of a threshold here of where I might want to see another dip buy. If it kind of keeps going and it goes up this fast, I don't want to chase it, right? So maybe you missed out on the 250 move and you missed it all the way to $3. The next thing you're doing is trying to find the next best entry. And again, we actually nailed this pretty nicely on twitch.tv, called the entries pretty much perfectly, just lucky, I guess. But anytime it comes close to this, I would call this level 1 resist or support level. This is kind of what I'm looking at. I was trying to grab on these wicks. I was trying to grab whenever it kind of came down and risk off, say, 260s. So I did get 270s in this area, so I had a 10-cent risk, and I was looking to get at least 30 cents, so I wanted $3. This actually pops back up and comes back down again, and then it actually sets up this little double bottom. So I saw on level 2 that was starting to like hold up, and it wasn't going to crash down immediately. So I looked into actually buying the second bottom here, thinking to myself, this could actually push up again later. And I drew this downtrend right after, and then actually breaks this downtrend right here at about 290s and moves its way up all the way back to the 310s. I actually scaled out all my position by this point at 310s. Unfortunately, I didn't hold it as long as I should have. You'll see as this chart goes on, it got crazy. This thing goes all the way up to about the $4 marker, just as we charted on the daily, and it didn't come anywhere close to playing it perfect like some people did, right? And that's okay. We have to learn that that's okay. Unfortunately, I got to be more patient, and I just have to adjust. So one thing we can learn off this also is if we look kind of at the 5-minute chart. I know there's a lot of lines. Let me go back to the 1 minute so there's not as many or it doesn't look as busy. I'll show you guys something I saw that was really nice. And I called this out on Twitter to let people know, hey, this trend could just change, and I might want to get out of the play. So if you draw kind of from this lower wick here at about 295, and you draw trend line up this route here, I'm kind of taking this first wick and drawing it to the second wick that's up here, and I'm just kind of using that as my trend line. I wanted to see it hold. If it can continue to kind of hold these lines all the way up and keep pushing back and not break and kind of fade off, then that's fantastic. We can ride this out as long as we possibly can, and we could also like add off that dip and keep selling as it gets further away from this support line, this uptrending support line, and scale a little bit. 350 is great. Okay, comes back, it consolidates, it's on the trend line again. You know, if it's not going to break under this 338, 340 line, then we might want to take a position again and see if we can get another stair step up and scale into that 375 to $4 resistance, which we had previously charted, right? So this is just a really, really beautiful trend line. I know on here it's not as great as the one that we actually had on Twitter, because in real time it looked better, but now that it's kind of set up a little differently, it's kind of like that. That's kind of how I had it on Twitter. So you guys have a better view of kind of what we saw and how it kind of kept respecting it. I called here about 375 to 385. Hey, this trend is starting to test a little bit more, and you can tell the volume isn't as high. If you look here at 403, you see how this breaks to high days? This is kind of something we go over a lot too. At 403, these volume bars here at the bottom are not bigger than previous breakouts. Whenever it broke, say, 385 and it broke upward, we got a 2.5 million candle. But we break that 385, 395 again after consolidation, we only got 1.5 mil, right? And then we got one for 1.3, but it actually was a sell-off instead of a buy. So in the instance that started happening, I saw a weakness in the play. I could tell the trend had been changing, and we might see a downtrend. So later on, we actually can put our marker here at 403, connect it to the next lower high, and then we can kind of draw through it and say to ourselves, here's kind of this downtrend that I'm looking for. If it can hold, let's see, where can it hold next where we could possibly get back in at? And I start looking left, and I say to myself, okay, looks like here I have level 1 support again for the next breakout, right? And I kind of chart the next wick from the last breakout, because I know here is a nice general area where people might want to buy back in as a support, and knowing it's not too far extended, people buy with confidence in this area. So here we go again with it actually holding 330s. It's got the little downtrend here, and we're starting to consolidate, and we actually break this right back up again. So you could have taken a position, maybe you took one somewhere close to this level, right? Here's another good indicator for you guys to kind of watch for. So let me break this down a little bit. So you see right about here, we have some kind of support. When it breaks this, you see this big green candle. Doesn't matter that it's green or not. It's just showing more relative volume in the stock. See how it's huge, right? So here's kind of another thing. It's not important as whatever right now, but it actually uses it as a resistance later. So we go and we do this again. We say, okay, well, every time it breaks this like newer little low, it starts kind of panicking out a little bit. So let's see what it does here, right? So it actually has some support here, comes up, comes back down. Here we go again. Big candle, or larger candle. People are still panicking out of it. And then if you see here, it's kind of tight, but you got to look at it. There is this like little itty bitty, let me see if I can draw it to it. You see this little itty bitty wick right here? Okay. That's where it broke the lows again. Okay. So let's just see. 1329. 1329. Look how small this candle is. Okay. So every time it was coming down, it freaked out. More people panicked. It came back up. It freaked out again. More people panicked. But every time it's starting to panic less and less and less. So here, it panicked super less, actually lower than average volume. So in this aspect, I start looking for dip buys because I know people are kind of tired of selling, and maybe that's depleted, and we're going to start seeing some buyers kind of creep back in and maybe push this back up. And I know this downtrend's also here, so I know that I could get in as close as I could to this 320s area, have a smaller risk, and know that if this pops back up, my next resistance area is anywhere from about 370s from this one here, all the way up to this about 375 mark, which is a daily resistance. So maybe that was an aha moment for you. I really hope it was. A lot of people don't really recognize the candles and how they're kind of getting pushed down and depleting volume on the sell side, where you can kind of start to see yourself getting back into it because you know the selling might be over. It's a top gainer for the day. At any moment, it could turn around. More people could come back into it. And also, think about this. This was during lunchtime. So, at lunchtime, what happens? People leave. They go grab a snack. Of course, the volume's going to kind of deplete a bit. And if you can kind of catch that before people come back from lunch, then you're in a really, really great spot. So we're recording this video here live about 2:25, looks like. So just giving you guys a heads up of kind of how I played this, how we made some money today. The P&L I had for today is in the top left-hand corner, so you guys can see that we had a really great day. Of course, I'd like to have a bigger day, but it just takes plays like this. Size in a bit and kind of go from there. You can size up the more you get comfortable with the strategies that I teach. Maybe you guys are over there, you're checking us out on twitch.tv/rocketcatchingbob, where we live stream daily from 8:30 a.m. until lunch, and you guys are learning a lot. I've seen a lot of people today banking really nicely, so kudos to you guys. Shout outs to RCB crew. If you're out here, leave us a comment. Let us know that you stopped by the YouTube. Also, if you guys are new and you guys are just checking out our videos for the first time and you haven't hit that subscribe, please make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and of course, if you like the video, just leave us a thumbs up, and we'd love to have you as a student. If you want to learn more about trading, we totally do it for free over on Twitch. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Hope this helped you.